Hello everybody, Brad the Guitarologist here. In this video, got another radio for you. This is probably a late 40s to mid 50s, somewhere along in there. Emerson radio. This one looks like it has dual bands. This one has AM and also a shortwave band. It's labeled Emerson and New York. So I might be aided in the dating of this by that, or maybe by some of these logos, but I'm sure we'll find some date codes to go by, and we'll need to find out, what model this is and try to get the schematic and everything like that. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, stick around. Yeah, obviously we're missing a couple knobs up here on the front, and the ones that are here, I have no idea whether they're original or not, which ones might be original. This one actually looks like it fits a little better. It looks more the part, I think, than that one does, but I don't know. Maybe we can find some pictures or something online. The cabinet's in half decent shape. I got this for $5 at a antique mall, and some jackass who sold it, they were selling it as is for $5, but look what they did. They sat it on the cab before they actually wrote on it, so so they basically screwed up the finish on the outside with their ballpoint pen. But I might be able to fix that somewhat, or at least polish it out a little bit. Yeah, let's pull the chassis out and get a better look at the chassis. But I can see here, I'm definitely going to need to replace this power cord. Look at this. I mean, and it's cracked all the way up and down. So there's no way we're going to do anything without a new power cord. So let's go ahead and pull this chassis, cut this power cord off, and get started. Alright, here's the chassis out of the cabinet. And this radio is set up very similar to the last one I did. Actually looks a lot like that one. Kind of the same layout on the tubes and everything too. This is a series filament amp, or it's got a series filament radio and amplifier and everything in it. And there's a tube chart on the inside of the cabinet. Right there. So we got a 50L6 output, a 35C5 rectifier, there's a 12 SQ7, 6 SS7s, a couple of those, and a 12 SG7. A bunch of licensed patents. And yeah, let's go ahead and there's actually a bottom on this thing too. Let's go ahead and remove that bottom board and get a look inside of it. Alright, here's the inside of this radio, and as you can see, it's pretty much untouched. Virgin state with all of the original capacitors. United Condenser Corp right there on that one. I see some other branded ones as well, but these are all paper and wax capacitors, and they pretty much all will need to go. All of these. That one down in there as well. Sometimes these little micas can stay. Those little domino / chiclet looking ones. Sometimes those are okay. But all of the rest of these are going to have to go, including the electrolytic here. Whoop. I'll be damned. That just broke right off. No pressure at all. Wow. I think before I do anything else to this thing, though, before I change any capacitors or any of that crap, I'm going to just kind of tack in a cheater wire here, or cable for power, and we'll get some power to it and just dial it up, see what happens. If anything, if nothing happens, then, I'll start testing transformers. But if we start getting sound, then I know our transformers are good, and we can proceed with the recap. Okay, searching the net, I found some radios from the time that are Emerson that are very similar. This one is similar, has the 4 knobs on the front, and you recognize one of these. These knobs are the same as one of the ones on the radio that I actually pointed out. I thought looked probably original, so I was right about that. Same story here on the bands. We have the standard broadcast band and shortwave band on this one. So this is one version of this radio. That was a Model 550. This is a Model 515, and it's very similar also, but constructed in Bakelite. But the one that we have is Model 534, and Radio Museum actually has this one listed. And they have the schematic and everything that I've already gotten from them. So thank you, radiomuseum.org. You guys are a lifesaver. Appreciate you being there. Alright, so let's get to it. First thing I need to do is come in here and just clip this old power cord out of the way. And look at it crumble. Look at that. It just crumbles into pieces. Look, there's pieces, just shards of this crap. Look, it's not like rubber. It's like hardened. Yeah, here's a piece of the old power cable, and this is why you don't want to keep old power cables on really old radio equipment like this. Watch this. I mean, I could keep cracking it. It's just hard as a rock. It's kind of satisfying in a way, though. I like to crack this. I mean, who needs those little fidget ball bearing things that everybody's crazy about? If you have an old piece of cable on hand, you can just break up in your hands. Man, that's too hard, actually. I'm going to get some ball bearings. Alright, here's the moment of truth. I've got a new power cord wired on this thing, and we're just going to flip it on and see what happens. I'm going to dial it up slowly on the variac here at first. I'm not even sure how you turn the power on and off. I guess it's this switch right here. I guess that would have to be it. Right? No. I think it's that one. That's the power. Yeah, that's the power switch. Okay. Let's leave that in the on position. And yeah, we'll just go for it. See what kind of smoke we can make happen here. I can see the faintest little bit of fire right there, so I think that's what that is. Whoops. I think I see the filament glow on that. Could be wrong. Let's go up a bit higher with it. Alright, 64 volts in. We're not drawing excess current. Then again, I'm not even really sure that it's on. Oh, something happened right there. Here's something coming out of the speaker.
Clarksville, Indiana, just minutes from downtown Louisville and even closer to downtown New Albany. Rails Restaurant understands the value of a great meal shared with good friends. With a menu from steaks and chicken to seafood and pasta, Rails certainly has something for everyone.
That's just unbelievable.
A wide variety of soup specials and, of course, savoring for dessert. The friendly Staff at Rails
That's with no changed capacitors at all.
Cheer on your favorite team while having an appetizer or beverage in the bar area that features a wide.
Don't care if I break, at least I'll be feeling something.
The real estate market is hot right now. Are you?
And back to these pre-existing conditions again, let's talk about musculoskeletal stuff.
Okay, well, this is very promising. We're still only at 64 volts on the input. I do hear a little bit of noise on this thing, but it's not excessive by any means. I guess let's go ahead and dial it all the way up and keep checking it.
Point is the quickest way to stop this extortion, this current cyber attack. Now,
That's the whole point.
There's that incorrect analogy
Jack,
by
that's the point.
the internet to a god.
I know it's not a god, but I'm just saying that's the point. Getting rid of Bitcoin. That's the conspiracy. This has all been done to get rid of Bitcoin.
Yes, but this is something that, like I said, this has to be done this week because I think they've given everybody 7 days to pay up or they're going to start destroying files, so it's going to get worse quickly. But here's what I'm saying. The internet does not have a soul, all right? And it's a source of enlightenment, but it's also a Pandora's box with all types of evils. And the internet can control you. You can be addicted to the internet, and you can be possessed by the internet. So I would say, if you want to draw an analogy, the internet is more like Lucifer, not a god. It's more like the devil. It's the devil's handmaiden. And that's the comparison you want to make to the internet.
I don't disagree. But I look at it. I look at Lucifer from a Promethean sense that the internet is like Prometheus. So if you want to say the bearer of light or the bearer of fire is the internet, then I agree with you. It is. But what we do
we have
with
to
it,
understand is that if the electrical grid went down, you would also lose the internet. If the internet became overloaded and went down, you would lose the electrical grid. That's all you need to know is that without electricity, nothing functions. And that is why people will die.
So I'm just totally astounded by how well this thing works, having had nothing done to it, not a single capacitor changed, nothing, except for the power cord replaced. Really astounded. Obviously we need to replace those capacitors anyway, because they're probably leaky and drifty, and there's probably some other issues, I'm sure. One thing I do see is that I'm guessing this is a tone knob. I think that's what that is. It doesn't really do anything at all. So I think the capacitor for the tone knob is definitely probably shot. So we need to replace all the capacitors and stuff anyway. But yeah, I'm really astounded that this thing works as well as it does, having had nothing done to it. In the process of recapping this thing, and it's kind of a small miracle, it's actually working as well as it does, because there's some kind of shoddy construction. Look at the extra length of wire that we've got going on here. It's just unnecessarily long lengths of wire kind of shoved in here. Then you got this capacitor back here that's wrapped in it's actually wrapped in, what is that? It's like a painter's tape or something, like masking tape. And it's got a wire coming out of it, like it's been kind of just jerry-rigged up, and just weird construction here. That's a capacitor. I'm going to pull that out of there and see what's going on, but that's just a weird thing to see, and that's got to be factory because it was buried underneath everything. I'm certain that's factory. Yeah, look at this mess. 0.2 microfarad, 200 volts, but just look at it. Look what they've done. Let's see what's underneath. It looks like maybe they've wired something else under there, and that's why they did that, but just still, weird thing to do. I guess it worked. It's been this way since 1946, and the damn thing came right up, so who am I to argue? But still, it's just a weird thing to have flopping around in the bottom of the radio like that. Let's take this stuff off. I'm just curious to see what's under there. Now, isn't that interesting? All the extra length of wire. There's nothing else under there. Were they trying to create some kind of a field with that by doing that? To suppress some noise or something? Or improve reception? I really don't know. No idea. I'll have to look later maybe at the schematic and see where this is going, but I'm not sure I understand the rhyme or reason for that, other than maybe just too lazy to clip off the extra lead of wire. On second thought, there has to be some kind of reason, because why would you go through all this trouble to do all this if you were just being lazy? I mean, you wouldn't. They did this for some kind of purpose, and I'm guessing it was noise suppression, feedback suppression of some kind. Don't know, but it's interesting. I have seen it on a couple of other radios before, now that I think of it. But when I replaced it with just a regular capacitor, I don't think I ever had any problems. So, I don't know. I'm just going to try a capacitor and see what happens. Alright, even though this thing pretty much worked perfectly with the old caps, I went ahead and replaced all of these capacitors. Reason being, they, are on borrowed time. So, but look how much real estate is opened up in one of these radios when you get rid of all the old capacitors. Here's the pile of old stuff that came out. We got mica mold capacitors made in Brooklyn, New York. I mean, when's the last time anything was made in Brooklyn, New York? Bunch of other mica molds, but we got some weird ones here too. We got Gunderson, something like that. I've seen these before. I can't remember what the name of those are. More mica molds. This one was a different one, I think. United Condenser Corp. Again, New York City. I mean, making capacitors in New York City, you know it's got to be from the 40s. But yeah, there are the casualties. Alright, here's the first fire up after a recap, and this will either go perfectly or the whole thing will explode. So let's see what she does. Well, the tone knob works now. Still nothing on the shortwave.
This Golden State bunch, it was a remarkable comeback. But I still put that on the Spurs for blowing a 23-point lead, even without Kawhi. You're a 23-point lead. And you and I talked about that last night.
And you're not been the only ones. Oh, boy. Without Kawhi Leonard, I'm thinking it's still a 23-point lead.
Yeah. They got a way to win by 5. On the book.
From the historical audio archives of Fox News Talk.
Legendary tennis champion Arthur Ashe was the first African-American player to compete professionally in tennis. Leading UCLA to the NCAA title in 1965, he created it in 1968.
I might need to touch up the alignment just a little bit on this.
U.S. Open at Forest Hills, being ranked co-number 1 with that year.
Also, I'm still getting that noise coming from the speaker, and I think it might be the spider. Seems to be a common problem on these old radios. Only problem is I don't see how. It's not really obvious how to get this thing off of here, so let me play around with it and I'll see if I can get the speaker off. Okay, the speaker's bolted to the chassis with 2 bolts, and I was able to get those out and slide the speaker forward slightly and get a look at the spider down in there, and it looks fine. So we don't have a problem with that one like we did with the last radio I showed on the channel, where the speaker had a really loose spider. This one is fine, but I did notice that I've got a rip in the cone that I did not see before. So I'll come in here with a bit of my Cure-All hot glue and glue that and just see if that fixes the problem. Okay, the glue gun's fairly hot, and we're going to come in here with the hot glue and repair this rip right here. The reason I used hot glue, as I've said a few other times on my channel, as opposed to some of the other glues that other people suggest, every time I post a video showing myself repairing a speaker with hot glue, I get about 100 different suggestions. Oh man, use super glue, or use wood glue, or use this glue or that glue. The reason I use hot glue is actually manifold, and I'll show you one of the reasons right now. Whenever you squirt out hot glue onto really anything, even if you leave it and allow it to dry, you can actually come back over it later and spread it around. So there's some flexibility here. There's really no real such thing as screw-ups, because you can always come back and move the glue around with the hot tip. You're not going to, as long as you don't leave it stationary for any length of time, you're not going to burn a speaker cone by doing this. So there's really no way to screw this up. You can come in here repeatedly and move the same glue around without adding any additional glue. So there's that advantage. The other advantage is hot glue is a really flexible material. It doesn't dry rigid. If you've ever taken something apart that was put together with wood glue, or like Elmer's glue, some people suggest, and this is one that's been around a long time, to use Elmer's glue and get little pieces of newspaper or little piece of paper and build them up and put Elmer's glue on there. The reason not to do that is because if you've ever let Elmer's glue dry, that stuff dries fairly hard. Wood glue, it's basically like wood glue, and that stuff dries fairly hard, and it's not brittle, but some wood glues are brittle. But that's the reason I don't go with some other glues, and I like hot glue for speaker repairs because of the flexibility. Anyway, so there's the repair more or less. We've covered the area, and now let's fire it up again and see if it's still rattling. Okay, so this radio is complete. I've put on some knobs that are, that look the part, but I didn't have any that were exactly like the original knob, so we'll just have to go with this. But it sounds pretty great, actually.
To the future and my reception, the future babies. When it happens, I could be 42. It's gonna be at my college graduation. It's gonna be at my other college graduation because I'm going to law.
Backyard, listening to the greatest spectacle in racing is an absolute life.
1 in 4.5 million. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68.
much funding leave. She will only be doing one in the fall. I will only be
the interest of the Russian government, which is one of the reasons why the Masons have always hated Russia as a nation state. True, if you go back to the end of the 19th century, every nation in Europe was under the control of the Masonic lodges, and also Russia. The first Russian Revolution in 1905, the February Revolution in 1917, these were all revolutions put together by the Masonic lodges in Russia.
Ben Maller. And you can follow me, Eddie Garcia. I'm at Eddie on Fox. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/podcast. Make that, oh boy. And I'm live from the Geico Fox Sports Radio studios. It's Ben Maller.
We'll pay off the women. Actions at all businesses. But LifeLock gives you more than you'll get from just monitoring your credit.
Year leading the team.
Well, the funny thing about that, Jenny, you heard him on the tape when Coach Lou asked him how do you feel? I don't know if you heard, he said, I feel worse when I don't play. So he likes to play too.
I should be.